Welcome to the second part of the Heritage Huskies Virtual Sports Awards Night. We now begin with the winter sports. Badminton. The badminton season always seems to just fly by with less than 2 months to get the team together, and then all 3 SSIAA tournaments within the span of 1 week. Despite what seemed like a short amount of time to get ready, our athletes definitely made us proud, bringing home a number of first, second, and third place wins. Big thanks to Michael for providing the music that kept practice fun.
This year's Bantam most valuable players are Thomas Barchak and Chloe Murphy. The junior most valuable players are Philippe Bogdelot and Rebecca Lemaire. The senior most valuable players are Juliana Sarup and Michael Veilleur.
Curling.
This year's Heritage Curling team had a very successful season, winning all but 2 of their games. Advancing to the SSIAA Championship Finals for the second year in a row, our team played very well but came up just a little short. Congratulations to all our dedicated players. The most improved players this year are Kara Johnson-Lassard and Maxime Santha.
Bantam girls basketball.
This year's team finished the season with as many wins as losses. In some ways, it was a season of injuries. This team had more games missing players than it did with a full squad. Even so, they missed the finals by only 2 points. No team looked forward to playing this tough and relentless squad. The improvements made by individual players were outstanding. The future for this group of players looks very bright. This season's 2 most valuable players are Maya Sion and Olivia Sarup. Next up, we have 3 different Bantam boys basketball teams. The HRHS 1 team, comprised of predominantly secondary 1 players, exceeded expectations in their first year of competition. It was a huge success to see all 3 Heritage Bantam boys teams make the playoffs. It demonstrates that the future of Heritage basketball will be a force to reckon with for years to come. The secondary 1 team managed to finish 3rd in the playoffs, and the experience they gained this year will carry on to next season. This year's most improved player was Zachary Cloutier, and the team's most valuable player was Jason Ferrer. The HRHS 2 team consisted of many players whose main sport was not basketball. This team had talent along with a hard-nosed style of play filled with enthusiasm and energy. They had many close games that were decided by less than 3 points, including a 2-point loss in the semifinal. In those close games, they competed as a team and developed experience in pressure situations. The coaches hope to see you competing again next year at junior. This team has 2 most valuable player awards to distribute. The first one goes to Michael Finelli, and the second one to Danik Lebrec. The HRHS 3 team dominated both the regular season and the playoffs. The athleticism, size, and skill this team played with set them apart from any other team in the league. For many of the players, this was the second year in a row they had won both the regular season and the playoffs. For some others, it showed that losing in the finals last year was a stepping stone in dominating and winning this season. We are so thrilled to see such talent and hard work across all our Bantam teams. This year's team awards include a most dedicated player, Anthony Simard Kerr, and a most valuable player, James Anderson.
Junior boys basketball.
This year's junior boys basketball team had a very successful season. They finished with a record of 14 wins and 4 losses, with many very close and exciting games. Unfortunately, during the second half of the season, they had to play quite a few games without 2 of their starting 5 team members due to injuries. Despite this, with important contributions from every other team member, they managed to maintain a favorable position heading into the playoffs. They played tough, aggressive defense, boxed out and fought for rebounds, tried to limit their own turnovers, and played with a ton of heart, which kept them competitive against some very talented teams. They finished the regular season in first place in the SSIA and in their pool in the RSEQ. They will never know how they would have fared in the playoffs, but Mr. Broad knows that this group would have given each game their 100% best effort and left everything on the court. Well done, everyone. It was a pleasure to coach all of you.
This year's most valuable players are Brandon Thomas Bino and Jacob Delorier.
Senior girls basketball.
This year we made one senior girls basketball team, which included a handful of very strong and committed grade 9s playing up in age category. Learning to be patient, to move the ball around, and work for their rebounds, they were really starting to find their groove and play well as a team. We were very optimistic and looking forward to competing in playoffs, but unfortunately the season was cut short just days before we got one last chance to show just how much we had improved. With such a young team, we have high hopes for the coming seasons. This year's team awards go to 2 graduating players. First is our most dedicated player, Juliana Sarup, and our most improved player, Ev Pelchat.
Senior boys basketball. While the 2019-2020 calendar year will forever be one to remember, this boys team will be left with thoughts of what could have been. The senior boys basketball team had the potential to be only the second team in Heritage history to qualify for RSEQ provincials had their season not been cut short. The boys captured both the SSIAA League Championship and won their RSEQ division, having only been defeated 3 out of 20 times along the way. This team was talented throughout the roster, but more importantly, they were a pleasure to coach. Regardless of the final outcome, these boys should know that it is who they were that will be remembered, not what they have accomplished. The Team Leadership Award goes to Noah Sassy. The Coaches Award of Recognition to Benjamin Beaulieu. The Most Valuable Player goes to Trevin Thomas Bino. Bantam Girls Futsal.
We started the futsal season with high expectations based on how many talented soccer players we had on the team. We came together as one, and every player contributed to the success with hard work, competitive fire, and a commitment to each other. We finished first in the regular season with 11 wins, 2 ties, and 1 loss, dominating the competition with an incredible, stingy defense showing up every game. Unfortunately, the season was cut short as we were on our way to regionals and maybe even provincials. This year's most valuable players are Chloe Murphy and Gwendolyn Jordan.
Cadet Girls Futsal.
While a few girls stayed back at the Bantam level this year, we were lucky enough to have 3 great new players join the team. With constant movement on the court, quick give and goes, and power shots from the half court, they made it impossible for their opponent to touch the ball. The girls made it look easy to play futsal. We finished the regular season undefeated with 9 wins and 1 tie. The team's most valuable players are Chloe Paquette and Victoria Sobchak.
PeeWee Boys Hockey.
This year's team consisted of a very young group of players who were eager to learn. Through hard work and determination, the boys finished 3rd in the league while putting forth an impressive undefeated record of 10-0 on home ice. Thank you for a memorable season. It was a privilege to be your coach, and I look forward to seeing you all back on the ice as soon as possible. The PeeWee Rookie of the Year is Alexis Beaulieu. The most valuable player is Dante Santangelo.
Bantam Boys Hockey.
It was truly a pleasure coaching these players, who were positioned extremely well going into our league playoffs. Our opponents understood the type of play we brought each and every game. Tough gentlemen. I look forward to getting back on the rink and watching our guys continue to develop the right way. The Bantam Rookie of the Year, Ryan Sloanwhite. The Bantam Most Valuable Player, Justin Massa.
Juvenile Boys Hockey D1.
The majority of this team was composed of grade 11 players who in their final season were looking forward to making a run at a championship. When the season ended, they were on a roll, playing their best hockey. They were a tough team to play against, and they represented their school with class and respect every time they took the ice. They will be missed. This year, 3 team awards will be distributed. Best Defensive Player, Leighton Garrity. Best Offensive Player, Jamie Bofus. And a Most Valuable Player, Alex Derome.
Juvenile Boys Hockey D2.
This year's program was a revelation. They beat the top teams consistently, won the LCC tournament, were battling for a top position in the playoffs, and were poised to make a run for a championship. This team set the standard for what is expected at this level and were a pleasure to coach. This year's Most Improved Player is Jacob Goujon, and the Most Valuable Player is Corey Grant.
Bantam Girls Volleyball Team 1.
Despite having only one returning player to the team, Team 1 started the season strong. Not afraid to play and practice against the boys, they all improved considerably and were always looking forward to what came next. After an upsetting defeat in their last tournament, they really came together as a team to practice harder with more focus than before. The season was cut short just before they could apply what they had learned in practice. The coaches are very proud of what you accomplished this season and hope you come back even stronger next year. Team 1's Most Improved Player is Audrey Lacoste. The Most Valuable Player is Trinity Legault.
Bantam Girls Volleyball Team 2.
Watching Team 2 grow and come together over the course of the season was fantastic. Players showed great enthusiasm for their teammates and attacked every game 1 point at a time. They were going into their final tournament solidly in 3rd place, and Ms. Knights is very proud of all their hard work and dedication. Congratulations on a great year, and we hope to see your positive attitudes in upcoming volleyball seasons. Team 2's Most Improved Player is Rebecca Natal. The Most Valuable Player is Marianne Brochu.
Bantam Boys Volleyball Team 1.
This team was filled with endless energy and athleticism. It was a team that jumped at every opportunity to learn a new skill and couldn't wait to apply it in games. Even though they were faced with stiff competition from other teams, built primarily of secondary 2 players, they played very well and were an absolute joy to watch develop. Miss Knights is very proud of you. This year's Most Improved Player is Enzo Racine, and this year's Most Valuable Player is Jai Puri.
Bantam Boys Volleyball Team 2.
With a large turnout at tryouts, Heritage was lucky enough to be able to field a second Bantam Boys volleyball team. This team was supportive of one another and remained strong contenders in the tournaments. Their enthusiasm kept everyone smiling during practices and games. Even though the season was cut short, these boys have a lot of potential. This year's Most Improved Player is Patrick Hatungimana, and the Most Valuable Player is Anthony Niguama.
Junior Girls Volleyball S Team.
This is a group of very sweet girls who were learning to be aggressive and display their talent during games. Despite having first-year juniors and first-year players, the girls improved tremendously and were going into the final tournament solidly in 3rd place. Mr. Chan looks forward to coaching you again next season. This year's most improved player is Amber LaBranche, and the most valuable player is Haley Rimple.
Junior Girls Volleyball, RS Team.
This team competed in both the RSEQ and the SSIAA leagues, performing very well in each. From the beginning of the season, the girls were eager to increase their practice time to help their individual and team development. This team was poised to challenge for the SSIAA banner and the regional qualifier when the season was interrupted. Mr. Chan is looking forward to continuing to work with all of you next year.
This year's most improved player is Erica Deschamps, and the most valuable player is Victoria Krachkovskaya.
Junior Boys Volleyball.
This year's junior boys volleyball team was composed of 6 players, 3 secondary 2 Bantam players, and only 3 returning experienced players. Needless to say, it was a building year. The boys competed in both the RSEQ and the SSIAA leagues and saw lots of court time. The season was very much a roller coaster. Often we were the top team of the day, yet a couple of tournaments we were down and would only scrape by with a few sets in our hand. Not bad at all for an inexperienced team. Overall, despite some serious height disadvantages, the boys proved to be a team to reckon with. Finishing a tight RSEQ race in 4th place, we were looking forward to their presence at regionals before the season was interrupted. We are very excited to see this team on the court next year. This year's most improved player is Lucas Melanson, and this year's most valuable player is Evan Bond.
Senior Girls Volleyball.
We were pleased to have 2 exchange students from Germany on our team this year who were an absolute pleasure to coach. The team was starting to peak at the right time as they were headed into the final SSIAA tournament in 2nd place. This year's most improved player is Feline Kotgen, and the most valuable player is Julia Ward.
Senior Boys Volleyball.
Our senior boys team this year was a very special group of young men, and probably one of the most dedicated teams Miss Wallace has ever worked with. These young men were always looking for ways to improve. They were always open to learning and trying new things and were brave enough to execute it in games. They recognized their individual skill sets, and every single one of them could be a difference maker when called upon. These boys made it incredibly hard to determine a starting lineup for the big games. What made them remarkable by many from the outside was their team spirit, unison, and attitude. It was unmatched and unwavered all season. This team came together as a family, and a great deal of their success this year can be contributed to this unison. Having a very successful RSEQ season, finishing 2nd overall, we were looking forward to taking on the top team on our home court. This year's most improved player is Peter Scartozzi, and the most valuable player is Ishan Puri. Congratulations, gentlemen. Miss Wallace cannot wait to cheer you on from the sidelines next year.
Indoor Track and Field.
We had an incredibly successful indoor track season this year. In the 4 regular season Friday night meets, we won 89 medals and 4 team banners. At the GMAA Championships, we won 90 medals and 4 team banners. We also competed at the prestigious Dartmouth Relays in Hanover, New Hampshire, where Emma Veyer finished 5th. And our 4x400 meter boys relay team finished 3rd, and Cedric Flippo finished 2nd. At the RSEQ Regional Championships, our athletes won 24 medals and 5 team banners, by far the strongest team there. Unfortunately, like many others, our season was cut short, and 11 of our athletes did not have the opportunity to compete at the provincial championship. This year's most valuable athletes are Josiah Bossman, Kennedy Brodeur, Sandrine Camere, Cedric Flippo, Jeffrey Godike, Alexanne Hunt, Alexa Moriello Mongrain, Oscar Proudlove, Amy St. James, Antoine Saint Laurent, Megan Tessier, and Emma Veyer.
The Husky Sports Awards ceremony will continue with the major awards at 7 p.m.